Ravi stood in his small kitchen staring at a letter that had arrived early that morning. It looked old, the paper yellowed at the edges, the handwriting neat and careful. His 9-year-old daughter Mira sat at the table with a half-finished bowl of cereal, swinging her legs and humming to herself. Ravi had not yet told her what the letter said. For many years, Ravi had worked long hours in the city, doing whatever jobs he could to keep food on the table after his wife passed away. Life had been heavy and tiring, but he never let Mira feel that weight. She was his light, the reason he kept going every day. The city, however, had never felt like home. Their apartment was small, the walls thin, and the streets loud. There was no room to breathe. The letter in his hand spoke of something unexpected. It was from a lawyer representing someone Ravi had not seen since childhood, his great-uncle Hari. Ravi had only faint memories of him, an old man with kind eyes who used to send sweets during the holidays. The lawyer's words were simple. Your great-uncle has passed away. He has left to you his Lakeside property. It is yours to claim. Ravi had read it 3 times already. Lakeside property. The words felt unreal. He had not known that Uncle Hari owned anything outside the city, let alone by a lake. The lawyer had written that the property was a few hours away in a small village surrounded by forest and water. Mira finally noticed her father's silence. Dad, what is it? Why are you staring like that? Ravi folded the letter carefully. We got a message, Mira, about a house. A house by a lake. Her eyes grew wide. A lake, like in the stories you read me? With trees and birds and boats? He smiled faintly. Something like that. It belonged to your great-uncle. It seems he left it to us. The rest of the day was filled with questions from Mira. She wanted to know how big the house was, whether there were fish in the lake, if she could swim there, and if it had a garden. Ravi had no answers, but he knew one thing. He needed to see this place. Maybe it was falling apart. Maybe it was nothing more than a small hut, but even that sounded better than the endless gray of the city. The following days were filled with preparation. Ravi went to the market to buy some basic supplies. He packed a few clothes, cooking items, Mira's favorite books, and her stuffed rabbit. He made sure the car had enough fuel and the tires were in good condition. Mira kept asking questions, and Ravi answered as best as he could. She imagined the lake, the forest, and all the animals that could be there. Finally, they started the journey. The city was busy as usual, cars honking and people rushing everywhere. Ravi drove steadily, leaving the crowded streets behind. Slowly, the tall buildings faded, replaced by green fields, open skies, and winding roads. Mira leaned out of the window, her hair flying, and laughed when a bird flew past. Dad, it smells different here, she said. That is fresh air, Ravi replied. He had almost forgotten how it felt to breathe it. As they drove farther, the roads became narrower and rougher. Hills rose in the distance, and the forest began to appear on either side of the road. The village was small and quiet. Children played near the well, and farmers worked in the fields. When Ravi asked for directions, the villagers were helpful and pointed him toward the narrow road that led into the forest. The sun began to set as they entered the forest path. Tall trees leaned over the road, creating a tunnel of green. Birds sang high above, and occasionally a deer crossed their path before disappearing into the woods. Mira pressed her face to the window, whispering every time she saw an animal. Ravi kept his eyes on the road, feeling both nervous and excited. After what seemed like hours, the forest opened, and there it was, the lake. It was wide and calm, its surface reflecting the golden light of the sunset. Tall pines lined the shore, and the water looked clean and inviting. A small island in the middle was covered in green. Near the edge of the lake, hidden partially by trees, stood the house. Ravi stopped the car. His heart raced. The house looked old but solid. It was built of stone and wood, with a red roof faded by years. Vines had climbed over the walls and porch, and a swing hung from a tree branch. The air smelled of pine and fresh water, a smell Ravi had forgotten for years. Mira ran ahead, laughing. Dad, it is like a fairy tale. Ravi followed, his heart full of a strange mix of hope and nervousness. He pushed open the door. The wooden floor creaked. Inside, the house was empty but neat. Dust lay on furniture, but nothing seemed broken. A fireplace stood ready in the main room. Shelves lined the walls, and windows gave a full view of the lake. They explored every corner. There was a kitchen with an old stove, a dining area, and a small study with books and papers covered in dust. Upstairs, there were 2 bedrooms, each with a window overlooking the lake. Mira ran from room to room, imagining where she could sleep and where she could play. That night they lit a small fire in the fireplace. Ravi cooked simple food he had brought. They ate quietly, listening to the soft sounds of the lake and the forest. Mira sat close to him, her eyes bright. "Dad, can we stay here forever?" she asked, her voice full of hope. Ravi looked at her. He thought of the city, their tiny apartment, and all the stress they had left behind. Here, the world felt different, calm and peaceful. He could see Mira's happiness, and for the first time in years, he felt a sense of possibility. "Maybe we can," he said quietly, smiling. He wanted to believe it. After dinner, they walked outside. The moon was rising, and the lake reflected its silver light. Fireflies danced among the trees, and the air was cool and soft. Mira held his hand tightly, her excitement not fading. "This is amazing," she said. "I have never seen anything like this," Ravi nodded. "Neither have I, Mira. Neither have I." They sat on the swing under the large tree, watching the stars appear one by one. Ravi thought about the letter, the journey, and the life they might have here. For years they had struggled, always looking for a place that felt like home. Maybe this was it. The night was silent except for the occasional splash from the lake and the distant call of an owl. Ravi felt a strange warmth in his chest. He did not know what the future held, but for now they were here together, and that was enough. Mira finally yawned and leaned against him. "I hope we can stay forever, Dad," she whispered again. Ravi held her close, letting her rest against him. "We will see, Mira. We will see," he said. As they went inside to sleep, Ravi looked at the lake one last time that night. It shone under the moonlight, calm and endless. Something about it whispered possibilities, a life that could be different from the one they had known. For the first time in years, Ravi felt peace. And in his heart, he promised Mira that he would do everything to make this place their home. The journey had ended, but the real adventure was about to begin. The next morning, Ravi woke to the sound of birds singing and the soft ripple of water against the shore. He stepped outside and took a deep breath. The air was fresh, carrying the scent of pine and wildflowers. Mira was already awake, standing near the lake, watching a pair of ducks glide across the water. "Good morning, Dad," she called, turning toward him with a big smile. "Look at the ducks. Can we feed them?" Ravi laughed. "We can try. Let's see if they will come close." He found some bread from their small supply and broke it into tiny pieces. Mira knelt by the edge, tossing crumbs gently toward the ducks. The birds quacked and swam closer, curious but cautious. Mira's eyes sparkled with delight. "This is the best place ever," she said. "I want to live here forever." Ravi smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. He knew they still had responsibilities in the city, but for the first time staying somewhere calm and beautiful felt real. He promised himself he would find a way to make it work. After breakfast, Ravi began exploring the house properly. The first thing he noticed was that it needed some repairs. The roof had a few loose tiles. The garden was overgrown and the windows were dusty. Yet despite the work, the house had character. Every corner felt alive with history. It was the kind of place where stories could grow, where memories could be made. Mira followed him everywhere, examining old furniture and opening cupboards. "Dad, look. These books are really old. Maybe your uncle read them." Ravi smiled and picked up a thick book. The cover was leather-bound and worn. Inside were handwritten notes and small drawings. It seemed that Uncle Hari had loved this place dearly. Ravi realized that this house was more than just a building. It held memories and love, even if he had never been part of them. They spent the morning clearing some space in the garden. Mira pulled weeds while Ravi trimmed the vines around the porch. They worked together, laughing and talking. The forest around them was alive. Birds chirped, squirrels ran along the branches, and sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating patterns on the ground. At noon, Ravi cooked a simple meal using the small stove in the kitchen. Mira helped him set the table and poured water into glasses. They ate while sitting by the window, watching the lake shimmer in the sunlight. "This place feels magical," Mira said, her eyes wide. "I can hear the wind in the trees and the water moving." "It's like the lake is alive," Ravi nodded. "It is peaceful here. We can listen and watch and just be. We do not have to rush. We can take our time." After lunch, they explored the area around the lake. A small path led to a clearing where wildflowers grew. The path continued to the island in the middle of the lake. Ravi noticed an old rowboat tied to a tree by the shore. It looked weathered but still usable. Maybe we can row to the island tomorrow, Ravi said. It might be fun to explore it. Mira's eyes lit up. Yes, I want to go. Maybe there are birds' nests or little animals. Maybe we will find something special. As the afternoon passed, Ravi noticed a small shed at the far side of the property. Its door was slightly open. Curious, he went to look. Inside, he found old gardening tools, a few cans of paint, and a wooden chest covered in dust. He opened the chest carefully and found a collection of letters and photographs. These must be from Uncle Hari, Ravi said, holding a photograph of a younger man smiling by the lake. He saw other pictures too. The house in earlier days, people visiting, celebrations in the garden. Ravi felt a connection to the man he barely remembered. Mira peeked inside the shed. Dad, look. There are tiny birds' feathers in the chest. Do you think Uncle Hari kept them? Maybe he did, Ravi said. He must have loved nature very much. This house shows that love. That evening, Ravi and Mira lit a small fire in the fireplace. The sun had set and the lake reflected the golden glow. Mira sat close to her father, wrapped in a blanket. Dad, I like it here, she said softly. I feel like the lake is protecting us. Like we are part of it now. Ravi held her hand. I feel that too, Mira. This place has a calmness you cannot find in the city. It is special, and we will take care of it together. As night fell, the forest came alive with sounds. Crickets chirped, owls called, and the occasional splash from the lake echoed in the distance. Mira's eyes grew heavy and Ravi carried her to bed. He paused by the window, looking out at the silver water under the moonlight. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of hope and possibility. The next morning, they woke to a strange sound. It was faint at first, a soft humming, almost like a melody carried by the wind. Mira was the first to notice. Dad, do you hear that? She asked, tilting her head. Ravi listened. The sound was gentle and soothing. It seemed to come from the forest near the lake. He could not tell what it was, but it did not feel frightening. Let's go see, Ravi said. They followed the sound along a narrow path lined with moss and ferns. The humming grew clearer as they approached the water's edge. Then they saw it, a small waterfall hidden behind rocks and vines. Water cascaded gently into a pool below, creating a soft musical sound. The sunlight reflected on the moving water, making tiny rainbows in the mist. Mira ran forward. It is beautiful. Look, Dad, the water is sparkling. Ravi smiled. I think your great-uncle loved this spot. That is why it feels so peaceful. Nature has its own magic. They spent hours near the waterfall. Mira collected smooth stones and leaves, arranging them in patterns on the ground. Ravi sat on a rock, enjoying the calm and the beauty of the place. He realized that they could create a new life here, one filled with quiet happiness and discovery. By the end of the day, they returned to the house, tired but happy. Ravi began planning small improvements. The roof needed fixing, the garden needed care, and the windows could be cleaned. But for now, it was enough to enjoy the house and the lake. Before sleeping, Mira asked again, Dad, can we really stay here forever? Ravi held her close. I do not know if forever is possible, Mira, but I promise we will stay as long as we can. And we will make this place our home. One day at a time, Mira nodded, satisfied. She hugged him tightly, then ran to her bed with a smile. Ravi stayed by the window for a while, looking at the lake and the stars above. He felt a strange certainty that their lives were about to change in ways he could not yet imagine. For the first time, Ravi thought of the future with excitement instead of worry. The house, the lake, and the forest promised adventure, discovery, and a life different from the one they had known. He did not know what awaited them, but he was ready to find out. As the night deepened, a gentle wind rustled the trees, carrying the faint, melodic sound of the waterfall. Ravi whispered to himself, This is the beginning of something new. We will make it ours. And for the first time in many years, he believed it. The next morning, Ravi woke early. The sun was rising, casting golden light over the lake. He could hear Mira humming as she ran to the window. She loved waking up in the new house. Everything outside seemed alive, from the birds in the trees to the water sparkling in the morning light. Good morning, Dad, Mira called. Can we explore the forest today? Maybe we can find more animals, Ravi smiled. Yes, Mira, but we must be careful and stay close. The forest is beautiful, but it has many hidden corners. After breakfast, they packed a small bag with water, bread, and a few items for sketching. Mira loved drawing things she saw, and Ravi had promised to help her make a small journal of their adventures. They walked along the narrow path that led from the house to the deeper part of the forest. The tall trees shaded the way, and sunlight peeked through the leaves, creating a golden pattern on the ground. As they walked, Mira noticed something unusual. A small wooden sign was partly hidden behind the bushes. It was old, but letters carved into it could still be read. "Look, Dad, it says Hari's Garden. Do you think it belongs to Uncle Hari?" Ravi stepped closer and examined the sign. It pointed toward a narrow trail that twisted down toward the edge of the lake. "It must be something your great-uncle created. Let's see where it leads." They followed the trail carefully. Soon they reached a small garden hidden in the forest. It was overgrown, but there were still flowers blooming. Bright blue and yellow petals peeked through the green leaves. A stone path curved through the plants, and in the center, a small fountain trickled water softly. The sound was calming, and Ravi could feel the peace his uncle must have felt when he tended this garden. Mira ran from flower to flower, examining them. "Dad, it is so beautiful here. Your uncle must have loved this place very much," Ravi nodded. "It is clear he cared for every corner of this property. He wanted a place of calm and beauty. We must respect that, Mira, and take care of it too." While exploring, Ravi noticed a small wooden box hidden behind the fountain. Curious, he opened it. Inside were several letters tied with a ribbon. The handwriting was neat and the ink had slightly faded. "These must be from Uncle Hari," Ravi said softly. He untied the ribbon and began reading aloud. The letters were addressed to someone named Rena, someone who seemed very close to him. The words spoke of friendship, dreams, and the beauty of living near the lake. There was also a map of the property, showing paths, secret spots, and even notes about planting trees and flowers. Mira peered over his shoulder. "Dad, look at the map. There is a little tree marked with a star. Do you think it is still there?" "Let's find out," Ravi said. They decided to follow the map. It led them along a narrow trail deeper into the forest, where the sunlight barely touched the ground. Birds chirped above and the air smelled fresh and earthy. At last they reached the spot marked with a star. A small sapling had grown into a young tree, its leaves shining in the sunlight. Beneath it, a stone was half buried. Ravi dug gently around it and uncovered a small metal box. Inside were old coins, a notebook, and a key. The notebook contained notes about nature, observations of the lake, and sketches of the forest and wildlife. It was clear that Uncle Hari had spent many years learning about this place and documenting it. Mira looked amazed. Dad, he was like an explorer. He wrote everything down. "Can we do the same?" Ravi smiled. "We can, Mira. We can keep our own journal. We will add our own stories and discoveries to this place." As they returned to the house, Ravi thought about the life his uncle had lived. Uncle Hari had loved the lake, the forest, and every detail of this property. It was a life filled with care, observation, and quiet joy. Ravi realized that they could learn a lot from him, even if they had not known him well. The next day, Ravi decided to fix the old rowboat by the lake. The wood was worn, but it was strong. Mira helped him sand the edges and check the oars. When the boat was ready, they took it to the water. "Hold on tight," Ravi said. "The lake is calm today, but we must be careful." Mira sat at the front holding the oars tightly. Ravi pushed the boat into the water. Slowly, they glided across the lake, the reflection of the forest and sky surrounding them. The boat rocked gently and Mira laughed with delight. "Look, Dad, the island is even bigger than I thought." Ravi steered toward the small island in the middle of the lake. When they reached it, they discovered a few wildflowers, smooth stones, and a small patch of soft grass. It was quiet and peaceful. They sat there for a while, listening to the water and the wind and the trees. "This is wonderful," Mira said. "It feels like a secret place just for us," Ravi nodded. "It is. We can come here whenever we want. We must take care of it, just like your great-uncle did." On their way back, Ravi noticed something strange along the shore. A faint trail led into a cluster of trees. Curious, he followed it and discovered a small wooden door hidden behind thick vines. The door was old and locked with the key they had found under the tree the previous day. Mira watched in excitement. "Dad, what is inside? Can we open it?" Ravi inserted the key and turned it slowly. The lock clicked. He pushed the door open, revealing a small room inside the hillside. Dust covered the floor, but there were shelves filled with jars, books, and tools. It seemed like a hidden workshop. There were sketches of plants, notes about the lake, and even maps of the surrounding forest. This must have been Uncle Hari's secret place. Ravi said. He kept his work and observations here. He wanted it to be safe and private. Mira ran to look at the shelves. Dad, it is amazing. He planned everything. Maybe we can continue his work. Maybe we can discover new things too. Ravi smiled. Yes, Mira. We can learn from him and add our own discoveries. This house, the lake, and the forest can become our own adventure. That evening they returned to the house tired but happy. Mira could not stop talking about the waterfall, the island, and the secret workshop. Ravi felt a deep connection to the place. It was more than just a house. It was a home filled with stories, history, and possibilities. Before sleeping, Mira asked once more, Dad, can we stay here forever? Ravi held her close. I do not know about forever, Mira, but we can stay and build our life here. We can make it a place full of happiness, learning, and love. That is what matters. Mira smiled and hugged him tightly. I like that, Dad. I am happy here. Ravi looked out the window at the lake, which reflected the soft glow of the moon. The forest was quiet and the air smelled sweet. He thought about Uncle Hari, about the life he had created, and about the life they could create together. This is the beginning of something wonderful, Ravi whispered to himself. We will take care of this place, and it will take care of us. As they drifted to sleep, the gentle sound of the lake, the wind, and the forest filled the night. Ravi knew that their life was changing. The house, the lake, and the forest held mysteries, beauty, and lessons, and he was ready to explore all of it with Mira by his side. Tomorrow would bring new adventures, and they would face them together. The next morning, Ravi woke to a soft mist rising from the lake. The sunlight filtered through it, creating golden threads across the water. Mira was already awake, sitting at the window, tracing the outline of the island with her finger. Dad, she said softly, I want to go back to the island today. Can we explore more? Ravi smiled. Yes, Mira, but we need to be careful. Let's pack some sandwiches and water. They prepared a small bag and carried it to the rowboat. The lake was calm, and the reflection of the trees and sky made it feel like they were floating in another world. Mira held the oars, helping her father guide the boat. She laughed every time a small fish jumped out of the water, sparkling in the sunlight. When they reached the island, Ravi noticed something he had not seen before. At the far end of the island, hidden behind tall grass and bushes, was a narrow entrance to what looked like a tunnel. The entrance was partially covered by stones and roots. Look, Mira, Ravi said, pointing. There seems to be something here. It looks like a hidden path. Mira's eyes grew wide. A secret tunnel? Do you think Uncle Hari made it? Ravi nodded. It could be. Let's take a look, but carefully. They stepped into the tunnel slowly. The walls were made of stone and it smelled of earth and moss. The light from the entrance grew dim, but Ravi carried a small lantern. The tunnel twisted and turned, eventually opening into a small stone room. Inside, the room was simple but organized. Shelves lined the walls, filled with books, journals, and maps. There were jars with seeds, dried flowers, and small tools. On a wooden table, there were sketches of the lake, the forest, and the garden. It was clear that Uncle Hari had spent many hours here, studying and documenting everything around him. Mira ran her fingers over the notebooks. Dad, look! He wrote about the birds, the plants, and even the stars at night. He knew everything about this place. Ravi picked up one of the journals. It contained careful observations, dates, and notes about changes in the seasons. There were drawings of the forest in spring, summer, and autumn. Each page showed Uncle Hari's love for nature and the lake. Ravi felt a connection to the man he had barely known. This room was his secret place, Ravi said softly. It helped him learn and think. He wanted a private spot where he could be with the lake and forest. Mira looked around wide-eyed. Do you think we can keep it the same way? Maybe we can add our own discoveries too. Ravi nodded. Yes, Mira. This can be our special room as well. We will respect his work and continue it in our own way. After a while, they returned to the main island and had their sandwiches by the shore. Mira skipped stones across the water, while Ravi watched the sunlight dancing on the waves. He realized that this house and property were not just beautiful, they were full of learning, exploration, and mystery. As they rowed back to the shore, Ravi thought about the hidden room. Uncle Hari had lived here quietly, observing the world and leaving behind treasures of knowledge. Ravi knew they could do the same, discovering things about nature, the lake, and even about themselves. Back at the house, Ravi decided to explore the attic. The attic was dusty and filled with old furniture, trunks, and forgotten objects. As he moved some boxes, he found an old chest that had been locked. The key from the tree under the star sapling fit perfectly. Inside the chest were photographs, letters, and an old diary. The diary was small but carefully kept. Uncle Hari had written about his life, his dreams, and his love for the lake. There were also mentions of visitors who had stayed at the house, and some references to a friend named Rena. Ravi read a passage aloud to Mira. He wrote that he hoped the lake would always be a place of peace, a place where people could learn and grow. He wanted it to be protected and cared for. Mira listened intently. "Dad, he loved this place so much. Maybe he left it to us because he knew we would take care of it." Ravi smiled. "Perhaps, Mira, and we will. We will honor his wishes and make this our home." Over the next few days, Ravi and Mira began small projects. They cleared parts of the garden, fixed the roof, and cleaned the windows. They planted flowers and herbs following Uncle Hari's old notes. Each evening they would sit by the lake or near the fireplace, reading the journals and discussing their discoveries. One afternoon, while Mira explored near the waterfall, she called out to her father, "Dad, come quickly. I found something strange." Ravi ran to her side. She pointed to a large stone partially hidden behind moss and roots. It had markings carved into it, small symbols that looked like they belonged to a puzzle or map. "This is interesting," Ravi said, examining the symbols. "Uncle Hari may have left this here as a clue or a secret. We should try to understand it." Mira's eyes shone with excitement. "Do you think it leads to another hidden place, Dad?" "It might," Ravi replied. "We will find out together." That evening they sat in the secret room on the island trying to decode the symbols. Ravi compared the markings to the maps and notes in Uncle Hari's journals. Some of them matched certain points on the property, while others seemed to describe paths in the forest. "This is like a treasure map," Mira whispered. "A treasure of knowledge and nature." Ravi nodded. "Yes, it is. We will follow it carefully. Uncle Hari left it for someone who loves this place. Now it is our turn." Days passed, and each day brought a new discovery. They followed trails in the forest, learned about different plants and birds, and explored parts of the lake. Mira kept a journal of her own, drawing pictures and writing observations. Ravi recorded his notes as well, adding sketches and maps. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Ravi and Mira sat on the porch. The lake reflected the orange sky and the forest was quiet. Mira leaned against her father. "Dad, I think this is the happiest I have ever been," she said softly. "I feel like we belong here." Ravi held her hand. "I feel the same, Mira. This place is special. It gives us time to learn, explore, and grow. We will build our life here just like Uncle Hari wanted." The night came filled with the gentle sounds of the lake, the wind, and the forest. Ravi looked at the stars and thought about the path ahead. There were still mysteries to uncover, and he was excited to explore them with Mira. "This is the beginning of our adventure," he whispered. "We will discover everything this place has to offer, and we will create our own memories and stories." Mira smiled and yawned, her head resting on his shoulder. "I cannot wait for tomorrow, Dad." Ravi kissed her forehead. "Neither can I, Mira, neither can I." And as they fell asleep, the gentle sound of the lake and the forest promised that their new life had truly begun. The morning sun sparkled over the lake, turning the water into gold. Mira ran to the shore with her small notebook in hand, ready to record another day of discovery. Ravi followed her slowly, carrying a basket with bread, water, and fruit. Life at the lake had become a routine they loved. Each day brought new things to learn and explore. "Dad, I want to go back to the hidden room on the island," Mira said eagerly. "There might be more secrets." Ravi smiled. "Yes, Mira, but we must be careful. Let's take some supplies and make sure we are safe." They rowed gently across the calm lake. The water reflected the green forest and the bright blue sky, making it feel as if they were floating in another world. Mira hummed happily, and Ravi felt a peace he had not known in years. When they reached the island, Mira ran straight to the secret room. The door creaked as they entered. Inside, they spread out the maps, notes, and symbols they had found earlier. Ravi had a feeling that today they might discover something important. Mira pointed to a part of the map they had not explored yet. "Dad, this path goes deeper into the forest. Do you think Uncle Hari wanted us to go there?" Ravi examined the map. It looks like it. The symbols match the trail. Let's follow it carefully. They left the island and walked along the forest path. The trees formed a canopy above them, letting in soft sunlight. Birds chirped, and the occasional deer watched them quietly before disappearing. The path led them to a small clearing they had never seen before. In the middle of the clearing stood an old stone bench and a small wooden box tied to a tree. Ravi opened the box carefully. Inside, there were more letters from Uncle Hari. This time. The letters spoke about the importance of family, care, and love for the place that had given him so much happiness. He wrote that he hoped the lake and the forest would continue to be a home for those who valued peace, learning, and togetherness. Mira read a letter aloud. He wanted someone to live here and care for it. He wanted them to feel happy and safe. Ravi nodded, feeling a lump in his throat. He trusted us, Mira. He left this place to us because he knew we would love it as much as he did. They spent the afternoon cleaning the clearing and planting a few wildflowers. Mira arranged small stones in a pattern around the tree with the letters. It was their way of leaving a mark, of honoring Uncle Hari's memory. As the sun began to set, Ravi and Mira returned to the house. The lake reflected the orange sky, and the gentle wind made the leaves shimmer. Ravi cooked a simple meal, and they ate together near the window, watching the beauty around them. After dinner, Ravi suggested they explore the attic again. He wanted to organize the old photographs, letters, and diaries they had found. Mira helped, carefully arranging the items and making notes in her own journal. "This is like a museum, Dad," Mira said. "We are learning so much about Uncle Hari and the lake." Ravi smiled. "Yes, Mira, and one day when others come here, they will see how much we have learned and loved this place. We are continuing his story." The next day, they went back to the lake to explore the island further. While walking, Mira noticed a patch of wildflowers that seemed different from the others. The flowers were small, with bright red and yellow petals. Underneath them, there was a flat stone. Mira picked it up and found a small engraving. "Love and care." "Dad, look at this," she said, showing him the stone. "Do you think Uncle Hari placed it here?" Ravi nodded. "I think he did. It is a reminder for us. We must take care of this place and live with love just like he did." They placed the stone near the tree on the island, a new addition to the secret room in the clearing. It felt like a message from the past, guiding them toward the life they were building. Over the next few days, Ravi and Mira continued to explore, clean, and plant. They fixed the roof completely, made a small vegetable patch, and even built a swing by the lake. Every evening they would sit by the fireplace or near the water, sharing stories and ideas. Mira kept her journal full of sketches, observations, and little stories about their adventures. One evening, while watching the sunset, Mira turned to her father. "Dad, do you think we can really stay here forever?" Ravi held her hand gently. "I do not know if forever is possible, Mira, but I know we can make this our home, a place where we are happy, safe, and free. A place where we can learn, explore, and grow together." Mira smiled and hugged him tightly. "I am happy here, Dad. I feel like we belong." Ravi smiled back, feeling the truth in her words. The city and the stress they had left behind seemed far away. Here, in the forest by the lake, they had found a home, a connection to the past, and a promise for the future. The next morning, they decided to take a longer walk along the lake shore. They discovered hidden coves, small beaches, and trees shaped in unusual ways by the wind. Each place seemed like a secret waiting to be found. Mira collected smooth stones, colorful leaves, and flowers. Ravi sketched some of the views in a notebook, adding notes about the plants and wildlife. By midday, they returned to the house, tired but happy. Ravi looked around the rooms, the garden, and the lake, realizing how much they had accomplished. The house had transformed from a quiet, abandoned place into a home full of life, love, and learning. As evening came, Ravi sat by the fireplace with Mira on his lap. They read Uncle Hari's letters again, smiling at his words and thoughts. He had left them more than a house. He had left them guidance, inspiration, and the example of a life lived in harmony with nature. "Dad," Mira whispered, "do you think Uncle Hari knew we would be happy here?" "I think he hoped we would be, Mira," Ravi said softly, "and I believe he would be proud of us. We are taking care of his home and making it ours." That night the forest was quiet. The lake reflected the moon and stars, and the wind rustled the trees gently. Ravi felt a deep sense of peace. He knew they had found more than just a house. They had found a place where their lives could grow, where happiness and learning could continue, and where every day brought new discoveries. Mira fell asleep in her bed, smiling, while Ravi looked out at the lake. He thought about the journey they had taken, from the busy city to this peaceful place. He had faced many challenges as a single father, but here he felt a new kind of strength and hope. "This is our home, Mira," he whispered softly. "We will care for it, and it will care for us. This is where our story begins." The next morning they woke early to the sound of birds and the gentle waves. Mira ran to the shore, and Ravi followed, carrying a basket for breakfast. They sat on a small blanket by the lake, eating and enjoying the morning sun. Every sound, smell, and sight reminded them that they had found a place to belong. As the days passed, their bond grew stronger. They continued to explore, learn, and care for the property. The hidden room, the secret trails, the waterfall, and the island became their special places. They knew there were still more mysteries to discover, but they felt ready to face them together. One evening, as the sun set behind the forest, Mira leaned against her father and said softly, "Dad, I think this is the happiest I have ever been. I love this place. I love our home." Ravi kissed her forehead gently. "I feel the same, Mira. This house, the lake, and the forest are ours. We will make every day here full of happiness, learning, and love." And so, life at the lake became their new beginning. Every day brought adventure, joy, and discovery. Uncle Hari's legacy lived on in the house, the forest, and the lake. Ravi and Mira had found a home, a place where they belonged, and a life that was full of wonder and hope. The lake sparkled. In the morning sun, the forest whispered with the wind, and the house stood strong, holding their stories and dreams. Ravi knew that they had finally found a place where they could stay, grow, and be happy together. Mira smiled at the lake. "Dad, can we stay here forever?" Ravi hugged her tightly. "Yes, Mira. We can stay here forever in our hearts, our minds, and our lives. This is our home, and it will always be ours." And for the first time, both of them truly believed it.